Good afternoon and welcome to our program. Welcome to our share, our lesson in Tanya and Chassidic literature, Chassidic thought. We're learning the Tanya is, as we know, the foundation of the Chabad philosophy. We refer to it as the written Torah of Chabad philosophy. So we're trying to decipher. We know that we learned that the book, the Tanya, is referred to as the Sefer Shel Beinim, the book of the intermediate person. And we're trying to decipher what is the definition of this intermediate person. What is it? And the Alter Rebbe goes on to explain, we know there's a righteous person, there's tzaddikim, and we know there's Rishayim, there's evil people or sinful people. And we know that there's the Torah tells us there is a Beinani, but there's several definitions of the Beinani, and the Alter Rebbe wants to create this thesis explaining his concept of the Beinani. Again, based on many verses, and it's based on the foundation of Torah, but it raises our concept and our thought and our definition of an intermediate person. So let's get it. In the meantime, the Alter Rebbe is trying to understand what this intermediate person is. And the Alter Rebbe says that someone that sins and has not repented yet, and he's violated the smallest sin, obviously we're speaking intentionally, he is considered, based on many sources in the Talmud, he's considered a sinful person, which is a rasha. So that's not an intermediate person. That's a rasha. So if a rasha is someone that violates even the minutest, the smallest sin intentionally, then someone that doesn't sin is a righteous person. Someone that fulfills all the mitzvot, follows even the rabbinical mitzvot and everything. If he violates them, he's a wicked, sinful person. If he doesn't violate them, then he's righteous. So where does the intermediate person fall in the picture here? I'll never go. Just recap quickly from last week that we know in general, like there's not based on the esoteric portion of the Torah, but in general we know that someone that has more majority of mitzvot is considered tzaddik, which is righteous. Someone that has more sins is considered sinful, wicked, and someone that has equal, half and half, he's the Beinani, he's the intermediate person. The Alter Rebbe says that's just a borrowed term for someone that's meritorious in judgment. When it comes to be judged, if you have more merits, then you're way to the right side, so you're righteous in judgment. But doesn't describe the essence of who the person is. So that's the other thing. This that we refer to, the Talmud refers to in many places. Ba'alma means in general. The mechza mikra beinani, someone that has half merits, half mitzvot, and half sins, is beinani. He's the intermediate person. V'reiv zachiyah, if he has majority of merits, mikra tzaddik, he's referred to as the righteous person. The Alter Rebbe says, that's just, we speak about reward and punishment. He's righteous in judgment, so he gets rewarded. He's wicked in judgment, he gets punished, and he's half and half. Lesser punishment. Since he gets judged based on majority of actions. So if he's meritorious in judgment, he's a tzaddik, but that doesn't describe the essence of this person. And in that case, the Alter Rebbe is asking basically, what is a tzaddik? We not what is a Beinani. If a Beinani, if we determine that a Beinani is someone that has no sins whatsoever, we discussed that in the previous lessons. The Beinani, the intermediate person, must, because the moment you violate any sin, the moment you violate any sin, you're considered a rasha, which is a sinful person. So the Beinani, the intermediate person, has not violated any sin whatsoever. So the Beinani is someone that didn't violate anything. So what's the tzaddik then? What is the righteous person? We have to determine and understand what the tzaddik is now, because we know what the Beinani is. The Beinani fulfills every mitzvah and doesn't violate any negative violation. So in that case, what is the tzaddik? Now we're left to find out what was the righteous person. The Alter Rebbe says, so the true essence, the qualitative difference between a tzaddik and a beinani, our sages tell us, tzaddikim yetzer tov sheifton. A tzaddik, his righteous inclination, his yetzer tov, as we'll see soon, every person has even a godly soul and a animalistic soul. A good inclination that pushes the person to be good, and then he has the animalistic soul, the evil inclination that pushes the person to not to follow his urges. So our sages tell us that a tzaddik is someone who his righteous inclination makes his judgment for him what his action should be. Every action that this person takes is determined by the godly soul, by the righteous inclination. Because this person, this tzaddik, doesn't even have an evil inclination. It says that his heart, the heart is the seat of the evil inclination. And David HaMelech says, "V'libi cholol b'kirbi," my heart, the seat of where the evil inclination rests, is cholol, is void. She'ein lo yetzer hara. This righteous person doesn't have a yetzer hara. It doesn't have a evil inclination. Ki haharge b'tainis. He's killed off his evil inclination by fasting. So now we've determined that a righteous person is someone that does not have an evil inclination, an animalistic soul. Avol kol mi shaloi higila madrega zu, but anyone that didn't reach this level, this high level of not having an evil inclination, even if his actions are more, he's meritorious, even if he mostly does good, mostly follows mitzvot, he's not truly, in essence, a righteous person. He may be meritorious and righteous in judgment, but he doesn't describe the essence of this person. It describes that he was meritorious in judgment. It describes what happened to him, but not who he is. Anyone that didn't reach this level, even if his merits are more than his sins, he's not at the level of a righteous person at all, not in the slightest. Not in the slightest. And this, basically, based on this, we can understand what the Medrash says. The Medrash says, Hashem, God, saw that righteous people are very far and few in between. Amad v'shoslam v'chol there. So Hashem went and planted these tzaddikim, these righteous people in every generation. As it is said, Commission Nemar, tzaddik, he said them because the tzaddik is the foundation of the world, is for this tzaddikim that Hashem created the world. And they are the foundation of the world. And therefore Hashem dispersed them in every generation, because in every generation there should be some tzaddikim, some righteous people at the level of the, if we determine that a tzaddik is someone that just has more merits than sins, then there's not so far and few. Many people have more righteous deeds, more merits than sins. But if we determine, and we reach to the conclusion that the righteous person is someone that doesn't have an evil inclination, then we understand how it's so far and few, and why Hashem had to plant them and disperse them throughout the generations. So now the author is going to go on to elaborate and explain. So what we've arrived at this point is that we have a tzaddik who's someone that doesn't even have an evil soul, a Beinoni, even though his actions are perfect, he still has an evil inclination. He just controls it, as we'll learn that and elaborate that on this. Basically, the author explains that in great detail, that the righteous, the Beinoni, controls every one of his actions, but he still has to deal with an evil inclination. He has to override his evil inclination. And the tzaddik doesn't even have, the tzaddik at the level that we're speaking here, is the tzaddik that doesn't even have an evil inclination. And the Rasha is the Rasha. Now that was going to begin his explanation and elaborate on this concept. Mostly the Alter wants to discuss the Beinoni, for the very simple reason that the tzaddik at the level of the Alter Rebbe's discussion, not everyone could reach that level, as we'll speak about. But it's not attainable for the average human being. It's not attainable for every single person to reach the level of tzaddik that he doesn't even have an evil inclination. That's as we'll speak about it. That's something that Hashem provides to great people that have great souls and have worked on themselves to a certain degree. But it's not attainable for every single person. And the wicked person, we're all familiar with. We don't need Alter Rebbe to tell us what a wicked person is. Alter Rebbe is going to elaborate on this Beinoni. From here, the Alter Rebbe goes on to explain this concept. Based on what's explained in Kabbalistic works, the lachol ish Yisrael echad tzadik ve'echad rasha yesh shtei neshames. Every single Jewish person is born with two souls, shtei neshames. In other words, even a rasha has this godly soul, and even the righteous person has the evil soul. Eventually he gets rid of it, but he's created and he's born with these two neshamas. Because the verse in Isaiah says, "Uneshamais ani asisi," and shamas plural. Uneshamais ani asisi. And in Chassidic terminology, we speak about the nefesh. In other words, not everyone functions at the level of two neshamas. Neshamas is in soul itself. There's levels. Now, Alter is going to explain what the verse says. Neshamas and ACC, that every Yid has two neshamas. Is referring to two. It's two souls, but different levels in souls. let's see what I'm trying to say. Change shtei nefashis. Every single yid has two nefashis, two souls. And nefesh achas mitzad klipa v'sitra achra. One soul. Alter starts off with the animalistic soul first, and Alter explains that this soul is the other side. And basically, Alter Rebbe in Chassidus, in Kabbalistic terms, Chassidic terms, the world is divided in two. There's no middle ground. There's either the godly side, holy side, someone and something that's submissive and surrendered to holiness, to godliness. And then you're on the other side. If it's someone or something that's not used for or surrenders himself or itself, used for godly purposes, for holy purposes, he's on the other side. Now we'll learn later that in the other side itself, there's some sort of middle ground. There's complete negative, and then there's negative that can be transferred and lifted up to holiness. But before that happens, he's on the other side. Other side meaning there's either holiness, the holy side, godly, or the other side. So the one soul, the first soul that we're going to speak about, the natural soul, so to speak, comes from the other side. It doesn't come from the holy side. Nefesh achas, one soul, mitzad klipa v'sitra achra, comes from the opposite side of holiness. V'hi hamistabeshes b'dam ha'adam lahachis haguf. That soul is clothed in the person's blood, meaning that its seat, its place, its rest in the heart, and this soul animates the entire body. As the verse says, ki nefesh habasar b'damhi, that the fleshly soul, the animalistic soul, or the natural soul, the soul that's not the godly soul, where is it? B'damhi, it's in the blood, and it animates the entire human being. And similarly, in not speaking about the person, every single thing in this universe has a soul. It also has a soul that animates, that brings it into being. It brings it into existence. Even a table. And in general, it's not necessarily the place for it right here, but I'll just mention quickly that the world is divided into four categories: daimim, tzimeach, chayim. Daimim is the inanimate, table, chairs, things that you don't see active life. Nonetheless, it still has some sort of soul that brings it into existence. But if it didn't have a soul, it would become void, as if it was never created. Since it's created, since it's here, it's physical, it can be seen and touched and felt, it has a soul that brings it into existence. Then there's tzemeach, vegetation. We see plants, fruits, and vegetation in general. There's also there the soul is more visible. As you see something's growing, something that doesn't have a soul, something that's not alive, can't grow. So it's more visible, the soul, but it obviously has a soul that brings it into existence. But in addition to that, it also, you see it animates it and it lets it grow. Then the next level is chai, which is the livestock. Again, you see it even more. It moves about. An animal is much more. The life is much more visible. And a living animal is alive. It moves around from place to place, and it has its characteristics and its nature. But in addition of being existing, you can see the life to it. And the fourth level is the human being, the medaber. So now we're speaking about the yid, the Jewish human being has two souls. One soul, the animalistic soul, the evil soul, or the evil soul, the Yetzer Hara. It comes from the opposite side of holiness, and that's what animates that's what animates the person. And from this soul, all the person's evil characteristic traits, it comes about from this evil soul. And in general, we say that we know that everything is divided into four elements. Everything, even a neshama, comes from four elements. There's Eish, Ruach, Maim, and Afar. It's fire, wind, water, and earth. And these are the four characteristics, four elements that everything comes from, that creates everything. And so too, the evil soul, it has these four elements in it. It has fire, water, wind, and earth. And the person's evil characteristics are divided into four categories based on these four elements. For which meaning, more specifically, the Hainu, a person's anger and his pride, the person who's arrogant, if you wish, and he also angers, and a person's anger usually comes from arrogance. This comes from the Yisaid Ha'esh, from the element of fire that this soul is created from. And Eish, just like a fire, the nature of fire is to gravitate upwards. It constantly flickers upwards, going upwards. Similarly, a person is arrogant, and a person who gets angered from his boasting, from his arrogance, comes from this same characteristic trait of gravitating upward, elevating yourself and making yourself above, so to speak. It gravitates upwards. And if a person who's just lustful, whether it's towards food or plain empty enjoyment, or not empty enjoyment, just enjoyment doesn't have any element of holiness to it, it's not devoted to holiness, that comes from the element of water. Water makes everything grow, and that's where similarly, in other words, it makes fruits and vegetables and all delicious and juicy fruit, which is tainug. It brings a person pleasure. Similarly, a person who just is lustful for just to pleasure his body without any intent of growing holy, it comes from the element of water of the soul. As I mentioned, and then you have Heilalus Ulitsanus Vispairu, someone that boasts and just speaks idle idle talk. Litsanus is empty humor, I would say. Litsanus is a clown in Hebrew. Litsanus is a clown. Litsanus means someone that's clowning around, or someone that's speaking, just joking around, so to speak, and it's wasting time, basically. That comes from the Seder Ruach, wind. Wind is just an empty, winded thing that doesn't have real substance to it. And so too, when a person wastes his time with idle discussion or fake or funny, empty jokes or boasting. So in other words, someone that's arrogant, he has what to boast about. It's still negative trait, but that comes from the, you say, the ace, from the fiery element. But the person who's boasting, just empty boasting, that comes from the ruach, from wind, from emptiness. And va'atzlus, when you say the offer, one who's down, who's depressed and just down. Atzlus means laziness, and atzlus is laziness, and atzlus means depression. Comes from the yesod, the foundation of earth. Earth is very heavy; it weighs the person down, and so too a person who's lazy and a person who's depressed is weighed down. Comes from this offer from the earth, the element of earth that this person's evil inclination, evil soul comes from. So, and then the Alter Rebbe goes on to explain it. Midis Teves Shabbateva Yisrael. I won't elaborate in that detail right now, but the point being is that there's, as I mentioned earlier, there's either godly or the other side. Now, in the other side in itself, there's two categories: evil, and then something that's called klipas nega, which is in the middle, which is evil that can be elevated, can be drawn to holiness. But that's, the Alter Rebbe says that that every yid has in his nature positive character traits as well. It's embedded in the neshama, in the person, in the Jew, for him to be merciful and to be be charitable, comes from this negative soul, and from the positive part of the negative soul. We're not talking about because this is something that comes naturally, doesn't come as a result of the person's effort. So the Alter Rebbe is just describing the evil soul now, the animalistic soul, so to speak. And from the animalistic soul is what animates the person, what animates the human being, brings the person to life, and that's where his and also that's where the person's negative character traits are come from, this evil animalistic soul. And next week we'll speak about the second soul, and we'll see where the Beinani fits into the picture, where the Tzaddik fits into the picture, where the Beinani, mostly where the Beinani fits into the picture. Again, certainly I'm certain that everyone enjoyed, and hopefully we'll see you here on Thursday with the Parsha, lessons on the Parsha. Have a wonderful afternoon, and nice to have you here.